Welcome to the Two Doors podcast, where we open the doors to Australia's top minds in tech, talent, and transformation. Hosted by Alexander Gill, founder of Two Doors Recruitment, we cut through the noise with real conversations from leaders building the future of work. Subscribe to the show to hear and see more of these types of conversations. Let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Two Doors podcast. I am here with JC. JC is a principal engineer at BuildPass, the operating system powering modern construction sites. With over 15 years of experience in software engineering, JC leads the global development team, driving the technical vision and scaling BuildPass to serve hundreds of thousands of users worldwide. Known for his pragmatic approach to engineering leadership and product-led thinking, JC's work bridges the gap between solid code and real-world impact on site. JC, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, I'm excited. So anyone that doesn't know JC, he's got level 100 of enthusiasm.
Yeah, I think when we first met, my excitement level was beyond anything AI, anything technology I'm here to chat about. So
yes, I'm very excited for today. And so what have you been up to lately?
Well, we've been very busy because we're in a startup at the moment, and so pretty much every single day is a bit crazy. But we're building the company very, very quickly. So we're working on technology, we're working on team, we're working on processes and systems, and really just trying to make sure we're always getting ahead of the curve. It's very difficult to do at a startup. So yes, very busy.
And you're doing some really cool stuff. Like
Yes.
JC showed me one of his apps, and we might be secret squirrels, so I won't share too much, but it's really impressive what you've been building.
Yeah, what I showed you is live in production. And so basically what we're doing is we're building a brand new app called Supersite that allows, workers on site, on construction sites, to go around and hold their camera up and basically just talk. And it's designed to be an AI note taker. So part of being a construction worker is that you need to record defects. So you can walk around the site and you can say, hey, there's a defect on the wall. I want to assign it to Barry's bricklaying so I can finish it next week. What Supersite will do is we'll package it up in a nice little AI, neat little bow, and it will structure all that data that you've just shared into your camera. And then it will send it directly to the person that needs to do that work. So it's a really groundbreaking technology because it allows construction workers to just, keep on the tools. They don't have to get back home and get on their laptops. They can just do it from their phone. So very cool stuff.
It's great because it's just building that collaboration tool and it's just efficient. You know what I mean? Everyone hates it when you have to go home and write stuff up rather than just being able to talk to something.
Yeah, that's correct.
And now you've worked in this industry for 15 plus years, right? You've worked at some huge companies like Siemens, and obviously you're doing what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Where do you see the future of this going?
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things that is going to change is the idea around workflows. And I know we spoke a little bit about this when we met. But my thought process around workflows is that every company has one. You can't avoid it. These are basically, processes that people follow to do their jobs, right? Where I believe workflows is going is more driven by, so not only are workflows being created by AI, the pieces of a workflow puzzle, when this thing happens, I want this thing to happen. And then this thing and this thing and this thing, that will all be orchestrated by AI in the future. Yeah. And so the reality of that is the model context protocol. And now you asked me this morning, what is MCP? What is the model context protocol? And I can share a bit of details.
Yeah, please do.
But basically what a model context protocol is a way for an AI to talk to. It's the simple kind of like pattern that it's trying to define. And it's as simple as an API server, but what it means is that an AI can prompt another AI to do a job, to get context, to do something on the behalf of this one. So you can imagine an AI has this tool chain, much like a construction work. You've got this like tool belt of things that you do. Say for example, one of the things in their tool belt might be an entire different company. It might be a completely separate entity. Which is much like how we do APIs now. API talks to another API. And what it means is, for example, BuildPass can have an MCP server. And so, and as someone as a completely different AI agent might be able to talk to our AI agent to get something done on there. So it not only stores context about what's happening, it's also able to generate data and prompts, feed data back to that original agent. So that's where we're going.
Yeah.
We're going into a world where we just say, I want to set up an entire company, that does this, this, and that. And then an AI can just build the workflow system out for that, logistics and the whole process around like a distribution company automated to that degree. It's quite scary, actually. So
It is. I think when you utilize it well, like you are doing, that's the game changer, isn't it? It's like knowing the power of these tools, and we have to go with it. You can't resist it. It's like a vinyl DJ still doing only vinyl rather than DJing with USBs. It's like we still appreciate vinyl, but you need to stay up to date and relevant. And you were sharing as well last time about infrastructure and like doing that well. And yeah, tell us more about what your core concepts or principles are, because I'd love to dig into that, because that blew my mind, that story.
Yeah. So when I first joined BuildPass, this was about a year into the company, maybe a bit less. Obviously being a startup, you don't have a lot. You've got code, you've shipped some product that you're trying to make it fit the world. But it's not ready for scale. It's not, it needs some love and needs some lipstick. So my job when I first came in was to really tidy it up and get it ready for that kind of next level, which is not just sharing it with your mates. It's, how do we get this in a customer's hand? I cannot understate the importance of building your infrastructure as code right from the get-go, because one of the things that I sort of discovered, especially BuildPass didn't have any infrastructure code, it was all ClickOps. ClickOps means essentially you go through Amazon Web Services and click to create things, right? Instead of having ClickOps, you have everything structural in code. It means that you can then deploy globally at scale when that time is right. And what we know with startups is that can happen very quickly. I've seen it with BuildPass, but I think it's very, very evident that startups can go from zero to really, really popular in no time at all. So you need to be ready for that. It's not about, taking 6 months to launch globally. You need to be able to do that within weeks. If you get a customer in London and you're not ready for that London customer, they're going to another company.
Yep.
So you need to be ready. And so infrastructure code helped us do that. I transformed the whole stack into, Amazon Web Services, everything that was running on that was coded. And then we started to do demos in the United States, and we started to get our first customers there. We launched the US tenant for BuildPass within 3 days. And it was ready to go. Like, there's tons of stuff to still do. Like there's always things that you need to finish. But the core flow of BuildPass was ready to go. Ohio server on the other side of the world. So I cannot understand the importance of infrastructure as code.
And that's a lot of wisdom for other, be it company owners, founders, or even tech leaders, that you've really, so focusing on that infrastructure helps you scale in a lot easier time frame.
And there's great tools to be able to, like, you can do it really simple, right? Even if you've already ClickOps to everything and you want to bring it back in, right? There's this tool called Pulumi, and we use that at BuildPass at the moment. And you can import your resources, your Amazon resources, wherever else you're using, and it generates code. You can just pop that in your repository and deploy it. So there's really simple tools that make that dead simple to do. Really encourage everyone to check out Playbook. It's such a great product.
Yeah.
Perfect fit to the market that we're trying to attack here. But yeah, it is certainly one of the best things.
And switching gears, like obviously you've seen many styles of software engineers or people in teams, and what makes somebody really successful over those years? Because you've grown an app into multiple countries, you've been principal, you've done many great successful things, but just, what sort of characteristics or trends would you say stick out?
Yeah, in terms of personal qualities, people who are the most empathetic get the furthest in their career. It just is such an important personal trait to have. And it is actually a muscle. It's not something you're born with. I don't think empathy is something that you necessarily it's a given, right? In this world, we know that not to be true, unfortunately. And so the more empathetic, the more thoughtful you are of not just your own work and the way you present yourself, but for others as well, thought process for everything that's around you. That is one of the biggest. It's not how well you code. It's your mindset. It's your tooling. It's the things you use. And it's the people that you surround yourself with as well, not just in your life, but personal. They are the most important traits. So, I'm finding myself not recruiting for code quality as much as I used to, especially in the AI age, because we're not really testing someone these days on how much code they can write, because AI can now do that. It's about, can they use the right tooling and work with in a great, respectful, decent way that allows you to solve problems, right? So it's changing a lot.
Well, I see empathy not only for like your mates that you work with, but for the user, right? And that's where that product mindset comes in, that they're able to, because the way that I perceive empathy is you think of yourself less. Yeah. It's like, how can I suspend my own emotions to think of the other person?
Yeah.
And then in a team environment, you're right, in this AI revolution, it's how you think. That's how really going to be paid. So that's why you're hiring those people on the way they think rather than what they do. Like the prima donna, we've all seen them, those amazing software engineers or those amazing people, but they can't play in a team. 2018 and 17 was a long time ago now, that it's like, it's all shifting. And so what do you really dig into for your recruitment process to look at and identify for people?
Yeah. So, it used to be very traditional, you'd have a technical interview, code test, and maybe an interview with the CTO or something like that, and then you call it done. I think we've changed a lot. And I can't sit here and say that we've implemented all this either, because we haven't. We're still a startup. We don't hire as much as another company would, for example. I think where I personally see things going is, I believe that senior engineers especially should be allowed to use LLMs in their coding reviews, coding tests, and part of the process of being hired, because that's what they're going to do day to day. And if they don't use AI, that's a big red flag for me. I don't sit there and pretend to think that AI is not a thing. There are many engineers out there who do, though. There are a lot of engineers who still don't believe AI has any purpose or place in the development of great software, which is unfortunate. But, I've noticed that on my LinkedIn posts where I talk about AI, there's this very small segment of engineers that just go, well, AI, it's not going to produce anything good, I think we can kind of, put that bucket aside for a second and focus on the people who are writing code with AI. We can test them in different ways now. It's not just, can you write a function that does this and outputs this? It's like, using this context, can you prompt an AI and work with that AI, pair program with it, vibe coding, to build a solution which is X, Y, Z. So it's focusing more on products, focusing more, can you solve a product problem with a product solution, which I think is what we've tried to do, but we've kind of haven't really embedded AI in the flow yet.
Yeah.
And so now we're trying to add AI as an extra layer.
Yeah.
Which is where we're going to go next year.
It's fun. We had Dave Lemphers on here, who's one of the co-founders at Main Code. So they're doing this AI revolution with Australia. They're like, we want to be this.
Yeah.
And he taught me that you have to be adding value to the user without them realize, the whole Steve Jobs mindset that we didn't know we needed 1,000 songs in our pocket. But like when we got it, we were like, this is great. And I think that's what you're touching on there. It's like you have to keep using something and pushing the boundaries that you can utilize it. Like the future is your own large language models. Like, it's how you use it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's going to become more and more as time passes that this is the way we should go. I don't think that it's particularly prominent in our industry. like AI did, it's going to come like a tsunami, and before you know it, pretty much every part of our process of recruitment is going to be surrounded because that's just the
Yes.
nature of it. So, look, we've yet to really test this process, but I'm excited to really see that, and we're going to be restarting our hiring sort of this year and next, and I would, being the technical lead of the team, I'm excited to drive that process and come to a great system that works both for the candidate, but also for us as best outcome. So it's going to change a lot. I think the only other thing to mention is junior engineers is a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
I think senior software engineers are a different story because maybe they've had a mixture of LLM based, like, coding versus not. And so I think juniors are actually in this entirely different world of exclusively using.
Yes.
And if they're not, they should be.
Yeah. And they have to use it, but for a leveraging purpose, not for a thinking purpose.
Exactly.
Because if you start leverage your thinking and outsourcing that, then you're going to be, someone else can easily take that position. And like we had the season finale last season was at Amazon. So they hosted us, AWS, and there was 50 juniors in the audience. And we were like, okay, well, what is the future going to be like? And what the main common themes were like, keep being curious, get over perfectionism, learn how to communicate. Because I remember 5 years ago when everyone was started looking at JavaScript full stack a bit different. And now the market's full of JavaScript full stack. So it's great, it's a TypeScript era we're in, but that all changes as well. And so it's how you keep updating with the time. So yeah, I hope that juniors out there just know that whenever you start something, there's always, I'm sure when you got into this, it was tough, right? There's when you finish uni, there's no guarantee you got a job. It's like you have to keep getting.
Yeah. And what I found that most of the time it was networks that got me my job versus my coding ability. It was the referrals and the testimonials and the people you've worked with in the past, and maybe just odd jobs that you've done. When I was 12, I started building projects for my family members and other people, little websites for their businesses. That simple stuff like that, it can change your life.
Yeah. That's huge though. You're networking and doing something more than the average person. The person who goes the extra mile gets rewarded. I'm sure before you were in your leadership role, you were acting as a leader, and then they're like, oh, they recognize you as a leader.
That's correct. Actually, because that's exactly how it happened. My previous team, my leader went on leave for 3 months, maternity leave. And so I took over that position temporarily, but they actually realized, oh, he's doing a really good job. Maybe we should keep him doing that. So that can just organically sometimes be how it works. And I'm hoping that's the same for aspiring junior at the moment, is that a lot of these things do come naturally. And so if you're kind of sitting here going oh, I'm getting nowhere, my applications aren't working. The definition of insanity to do the same thing over again. Stop applying for jobs over and over again. You need to have 3 or 4 different avenues you're chasing. Meetups, whether it's internships, maybe you're reaching out to people on LinkedIn and talking to them, which I find extremely valuable as a senior. You need to have multiple avenues in order to get a job in this industry.
And that's huge wisdom. Anyone out there, even for seniors looking for jobs, when you get weary and well-doing of just networking, that's where you start to blame everything. With getting out there, there's people hiring, it's the world is not coming to the end, it's starting. So, and what about some of your failures? Because I love talking about failure because I failed many times, and that's how it helps you grow. But often when we're a perfectionist, we're like, oh no, I can't fail. But you must have learned some great things from failing to be at this position.
Absolutely. In fact, I immediately thought to one of my previous managers at Seek. His name's Michael Taranto. See if he listens. But back in the day, when I was an associate developer in the candidate team at Seek, I was fresh out of university. Right? I thought I knew how to cope. Doing it by that point for about 6 years, so 6 or 7 years. How well, I'm not sure. And probably not very well. But what Michael did, and I found this really interesting, is he printed off my code after a day's so he left, I committed some code. He went home and saw that I committed that code, printed it off because it was garbage. And and we spoke about it the next morning. And he's like, "Hey, JC, like, let's talk about this code." And I mean, in my defense, I was kind of just committing so that I didn't. It was halfway through, but that's still not an excuse. And we talked about it. We went through it, and it stuck with me, that memory, because it's like, oh, that was a bit jarring. The whole process of getting feedback and your body viscerally reacts to feedback, like negative feedback or constructive feedback, in a different way than positive. The visceral reaction is tough. It's really hard at that first moment. And then a week later, you feel renewed. You never do that thing again. Like, your brain is wired in a completely different way. Your neurons have established so much so that it will never go down that neural pathway again. It'll go down this one. And I think that's the science behind feedback is so important. And so I have failed. That's happened a million times, at a micro level. So feedback, person to person level. As an engineer, you fail constantly. This job is fraught with failure. And so it's important to embrace that.
Yeah. So the lessons there are, don't make the same mistake again, like learn from it and learn to take feedback, people holding you to standards. And I think there's an art to giving feedback as well, right? As a leader, like, never criticize or condemn in front of others, like do it in a personal space, and only appraise and give people praise in front of everyone. Like, there's an art to it, right? You can't just, hey, you did this in front of others. It really can hurt people.
Yes. I have been at points where I've been almost close to tears with feedback, which to me told me that the feedback wasn't delivered correctly. I've delivered extremely difficult feedback with, 0 tears and even a positive thumbs up at the end. That's where it should. It's like you've received that feedback and you've actually understood it. It's not you've received and gone, oh, that sucks, I feel so bad about myself. It should be delivered in such a way, doesn't it?
But that's because you're a great leader and you care about people, that you want to give.
Yeah, that's where empathy comes in, right? Yeah. And that's the skill. Because I wasn't good at that when I first started being a leader.
Me too.
You just bluntly give stuff and you're like, oh crap,
I love it. And bringing this into land. So is there any wisdom that you'd love to share with anyone listening or watching out there?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to just keep trying. Honestly, sometimes when you're in this industry, barriers are going to be put up in front of you. It can barriers from everywhere, from your code, from your peers, from your team, from your career aspirations. You're always going to have these barriers, and it's always going to be jarring. Feedback. It's one of those things where it's visceral and it's annoying. It's like frustrating. But I think the key is to just keep trying, keep attacking your aspirations and your goals, measure them, and understand where you sit. It's not very good to sit not knowing where you're at as a developer. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and push those weaknesses forward, and your strengths, of course, naturally. So measuring your own, I guess, state as a developer, is just so important, and to keep pushing that.
Yes.
Don't stop.
I love that. That's a great place to leave it. So thank you very much for coming on, JC.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
If you like this episode, please like and subscribe. It helps the growth of the channel so we can keep interviewing some of the best minds that there are here. Thank you very much.